lost my mind, can't help but cry.
Welcome everybody to the Black Sand Journals. I'm your host, Seti Matua. I have a wonderful guest with me today, and don't really know her at all, but we're all going to get to know her very well before the end of this episode. So thank you for spending some time with us. We're going to introduce her real quick. Her name is, please help me if the pronunciation is off, Manila or Nila
Yeah.
Maake.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to the Black Sound Journals. Thank you for making the time.
Of course.
For those of you in the audience, it's been very tricky getting our schedules aligned. But I think, and I've experienced this with other people that I've interviewed, I think the things that we'll talk about today may be something that the adversary wants us not to talk about, and that's why he's making it difficult. So thank you for making the time, Nila.
Of course.
No pressure.
Please.
Let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us where you're from and family, and maybe your heritage or your background, and then what you do as a profession. Let's start with that.
Okay. Well, my name, thank you for having me, Maake.
Sure.
My name again is Manila Maake. My parents are Suliasi and Baha Maake. They both hail from the villages of, so my dad is from, they're both Tongan. So I'm
Okay.
of the Tongan heritage.
Okay, great.
Full-blooded horsey. And so my dad comes from a village called Bangai and Pukotala, and then my mom is from Wihan Homa.
All right.
And yeah, these are all you probably don't even know where these
I've heard of
villages
Louis
are.
before, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Good things? Good things, huh?
Always good things.
Oh, that's surprising. But yes, my parents are first gen, so they both migrated straight from Tonga,
Okay.
and so my siblings and I are first generation Tongan-Americans here in the U.S. And then I was born here in Salt Lake, but then I was raised in Concord, California.
All right.
Shout out 925. I don't know if you've heard of Concord.
Hey, yes, I have.
Oh, you
I
have?
have, yes.
Okay, we're on the map. There you go. But yeah, I recently moved to Utah.
Okay.
I'm studying psychology at Utah Valley University, in hopes of one day getting into family marriage therapy.
Great.
And yeah, it's just been an interesting journey. Um, my parents are because they migrated straight from Tonga. They're very, very cultural.
Yeah,
Like,
very traditional.
yeah, they're straight fobs. Like my parents don't even speak English sometimes, but it's a blessing, definitely.
yeah.
And so the culture was heavily influenced in my household.
Wonderful. How many siblings?
There is 7 of us.
Okay.
And there's 2 boys and 5 girls.
5 girls. And where do you fall in that?
I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest
Oh,
girl.
wow.
So number 2.
So lots of people looking for you for an example.
Yeah.
Looking to you for an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Second mom, definitely, yeah.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. And shout out Wolverines.
Yes. Shout out Wolverine.
Good. Brought you back to the motherland.
Yeah.
And so your parents migrated from Tonga. Any stops in between?
No, straight to Utah. So they were sealed. They were married and sealed in the Salt Lake Temple.
Great.
And then they just migrated to California, like straight after.
Okay. Just for jobs and things.
Yeah. And then family.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of family in California.
Great.
So
Great.
they've
Married?
lived there ever since.
You married?
I'm not.
Okay.
No.
All right. So
Very
anybody's
single.
looking, Nila is available.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do you have any criteria for future?
Oh yeah, what? Oh, worthy priesthood. And I feel like it's the
Right.
classics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worthy priesthood holder. I love a family-oriented man.
Yeah. Good.
Just all the good things.
And those are getting hard to find, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, no, genuinely, I feel like our
Yeah.
world is moving more towards like this player mentality. Like,
Okay.
there's a lot of options and
Yeah.
just kind of not wanting a family.
Driven by social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's sad, isn't it?
It is. It's hard,
Yeah.
especially when you've grown up with values that aren't that. So
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think Utah dating culture is a whole different culture
Yeah.
in general than any other. Coming from Cali, I feel like California, everyone's more prone to settle. Not settle, but like settle down, if that
Yeah.
makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
But over
Because
here,
life's busy.
yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got to cut that out,
Uh-huh. Oh,
reach that goal as soon as possible, and then that's it.
exactly. Whereas here, I feel like everyone takes, there's like that church, like the church encourages us to have not options,
Yeah.
but they encourage
Date.
us to date around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And court and
Yeah.
all these things. But I feel like Utah like takes it to a
To
different
the
level.
extreme. Yes.
They take
Yeah.
that and run with it. So it's just interesting being here and seeing it.
Yeah.
But I've seen it be a blessing for a lot of people. So
Okay.
to each their own.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Having served in a YSA ward, I can understand completely where you're coming from. Yeah. So again, I'm putting a plug in for you. If you're the Provo, Orem area,
Stop.
please. we'll put Nila's handles, the Instagram,
Oh my gosh.
any other social media so that you can reach out to her. And don't be creepy.
Yeah, please. Please.
Okay. So you mentioned in our earlier conversation before we started that you served a full-time mission in Tampa, Florida. Tell me what that experience was like for you. What led you to go on a mission, first of all?
I think to answer that first question, transformative. That's the word I always think of when anyone asks me about my mission. It was just a very transformative period. I think before and after my mission, and then obviously during. Um, but what led me to go on a mission, like I said, my parents,
Very traditional.
yeah, they're very traditional, but they're also very religious. So the gospel was also very heavily influenced in our household. Um, and something I'm sorry, like if this goes off of line, but something that my parents instilled in my siblings and I at a very young age was this saying that they always said that before you are a Tongan, you are a daughter or son of God.
Beautiful.
And I didn't realize like just how profound that was
Yeah.
until I served a mission.
Right.
And in so many different ways, that just that truth alone, it carried me and it healed me, it comforted me. Um, I think just having a stable like foundation to place myself in, which I feel like is very hard for like young people. I'm still shoot, I still consider myself a kid, but but yeah, just like having that truth and just like being rooted in that and just that's something that I grew up knowing and just at least hearing sometimes. Um, it was just very deep. And so like on my mission, I mean preparing to go on a mission, that is something that helped me kind of prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It is it's a foundational thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fundamentals to the gospel of Jesus Christ and to the plan of salvation. And we tend to lose when we think about, especially in today's day and age, everyone's always talking about their identity.
Yeah.
And when you lose your identity as a child of God, then that's probably one of the first things you start to lose before you start losing your entire testimony.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Your parents are very intelligent, spiritually intelligent, to have that deeply rooted in your faith. And was there anything, any experience that you wanted to share from your mission that really solidified why you needed to go on a mission?
Yeah, man, there's like a lot. It's hard to really just single out one. I share this is like a very embarrassing experience, but it always comes to mind at first.
That's what we always
I don't
remember.
like it. I really dislike it, but it's it's a so my mission was actually a bike mission.
Okay.
So we had a certain amount of miles on our card, and whatever we didn't have
Yeah.
in miles, like we had to bike, and it was a lot. Um, and I had just got so it's called Zebra. I don't have you ever heard of that? Like a zebra area?
No, I haven't.
So
I was back in the days when
oh,
you
okay, and
walked
then you were in
everywhere.
Samoa. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were all supposed
Yeah,
to
it was
same.
like there was barely any cars available. So
Oh, okay.
it's that old.
Yeah, you're probably like, okay, simmer down. It's probably not that bad.
That's so educating me. What's a
No,
zebra
yeah.
usually?
So I got sent to this area where my companion she was a different language speaking. That's what
Oh,
the zebra
okay.
is for.
Okay.
And we got put together as companions, but we would be
So you
serving
were
different.
Spanish speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And this companion was just she was very our work ethic was different. The way that I was trained was more like if I don't feel tired, then I'm not. Like
Yeah.
I'm still able to do something.
Right.
And then even with like meals, like sometimes we can work through meals. That was just kind shout out my trainer. She really worked like she taught me how to work. And so when I got put with the companion that didn't, like it wasn't like that for her. We did this thing where we set expectations at the beginning of the
Yeah.
transfer and she had specifically told me that she doesn't like to bike, but on top of that, like she would prefer that we don't bike at night.
Okay.
And we had an appointment at night and we were out of miles and we kind of had a rough day with just teaching in general.
Yeah.
And so emotions were high. Um and I had told her I was like, okay, like we don't have miles, so let's go bike. And she was down and she was like, as long as we like bike before the sun is fully set.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like right before we leave, mind you, we're kind of both angry with each other. Not with each other, but I think at everything
Yeah.
else. And we start taking it out on each other. And she just storms off and she's like, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. And we're already late and the sun is going down. And so just like all of that happens. And so as soon as we hop on the bikes, I immediately just pedaling. Like it never stopped. Like, and the thing about Florida is jaywalking isn't illegal. Like
Oh.
if
People just
yeah.
into the road.
And so all you see me is zooming through like the streets, just going and going. And I I kind of limited myself. Like I counted to 10, or like if I pass 3 lights, I'll turn around and look. She's there, Um, and I was like also just like very angry. I was taking it out with being like physical on the bike. And it got to the point where I turned around and I waited and just kept waiting and she wasn't there. And
Did she go back home?
I had wished, but no, she didn't. She we were biking and I guess she just stayed where she was at and I went a couple of lights. I remember just like crying because that was the first time in my whole mission I was not with a companion.
Yeah.
My mission was very exactly obedient. Like they
Okay.
were big on
Yeah.
exact
Yeah.
obedience.
Cool.
And when I went back, it was just like a very tender moment where I just felt like I felt guilty,
Yeah.
but at the same time I learned a lot about charity and the Savior's love.
Yeah.
And when I finally found her, like which was like 2 miles back, which was like 2 miles back, um I just remember being super grateful that nothing happened to her.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple it's such a simple story, but I feel like it taught me how emotions can
Yes.
be a weapon against yourself
Yes.
and others, and acting out of emotion can also be as damaging. And so when we kind of look past that or try to grow closer to the Savior, like those things, I think the leading thing is like love. And it just solidified how much the mission was a labor of love for me in every single aspect.
Yeah. It's hard to get along with a companion,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
gosh, yeah.
You know, you
Especially
have
when
to
you're different.
yeah. You have to have a lot of humility and compassion for that person, and a lot of times it's not reciprocated.
Yeah.
So you have to, I don't know, in many ways, just develop that callus on your spirit
Yeah.
where you say, it's okay, as angry as I am, and you know us,
Like,
that's our first emotion
oh
as
my gosh,
Polynesians is
yeah.
that I'm very angry right now.
Yeah.
Let's ask my family. But thank goodness for you and realizing in that moment, because it was dangerous for both of you at that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, you bring up a lot of good points in that story, and humility has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So you struggle with anger in your life?
Man, I feel like it's pretty tamed. Like I hope so.
Yeah.
Comment below if it's not, if I've given you a bad
If you're a
experience.
sibling watching this,
All right,
please
not
let
too
us know.
much. Nah, but yeah, like I think yeah, I think anger. I like that you mentioned that. I think it's a very strong emotion in our
Yes.
Polynesian community.
Yes.
And reacting. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a I feel like we're intimidating characters in general. You
Yeah.
know, like I mean
I
physically.
agree. I agree. I try not to be intimidating to people who are not of our race and culture,
Yeah.
but um, there's just a stigma
Yeah.
that surrounds us. And what people don't understand about us is once you get to know us, we're the nicest, kindest
Exactly.
people in the world.
Gentle giants.
But it takes
Exactly.
breaking the ice and looking past whatever it is, because we don't understand them either. But breaking down those walls to make sure that we can't have good, honest, and healthy conversations without letting down those walls. So, speaking of that, what experiences did you have in your own home growing up with your parents that helped you prepare for your mission or in life? What's one of the best lessons you've learned from your parents?
I think it always just goes back to like growing up with very cultural parents. I think selflessness was like the
Yeah.
leading trait.
Yeah.
Um and it's funny because there's so many good things to say about it, but I kind of want to not talk about the negative, but like just highlight how like hard it was
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah.
to see the selflessness and
Because there has to be a balance, right?
yes, and there has to be a boundary.
Yes.
And I didn't learn that from my parents, the
Yeah.
boundary.
Uh-huh.
I learned the selflessness and the ofa and like the giving and
Yes.
all those good
Yeah.
things that come from our culture. I learned it from them because that's who they were. Like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily they sat us down and kind of just you need to do that. Like yeah, they did, but it was from their examples that I was able to take from. But at the same time, I saw how, like, it was misused. It was they were, um, overlooked sometimes, or it was just taken advantage of
Yeah.
easily by, like, a lot of people, and it was funny because it was a lot of our loved ones too, and, I think seeing that and seeing them continue to be selfless
Yeah.
and continue to, even then, like through that trial, choose to turn the cheek or choose to just continue to love, it helped me, um, I guess, know what true charity looks like
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I was thinking as you were talking about how sometimes people there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Yes.
And some people will take advantage of us if we don't do that. But we always have to, I don't know about other people, but we always have to think, what would the Savior do in this situation? Because I can see him trying to teach a lesson in a loving and compassionate way to people who might take advantage of us, of our kindness and love and charity. So Um, which one of your parents is the most charitable? Or maybe another way to frame that is your dad more strict or is it your mom that's more strict?
Oh, dang. I like that perspective. Okay, can we not show my mom and dad? I think okay, the more
Or is it situational?
I feel like they're just different people,
Yeah.
like, but in the same way, they're very giving. My dad, it has to be my dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's my mom in so many ways, definitely. But I think my dad has a unique way of so I grew up in a very non-affectionate home, like household.
Ooh,
Like,
sounds familiar. Yeah.
really? Okay.
No.
Oh, he's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, but we were never lovey-dovey
Yeah.
and nor physical.
Yeah.
Like physical suck it's such an ick. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's such
Yeah.
a like stealing brewing. But like in so many ways, my dad influenced all of us in that way because he was very um service oriented and very like acts of service. That was
Yeah.
his thing. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, he expressed it in that way and I feel like that's very unique in a way. I don't know.
Yeah. So your mom's the fiery one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
typical
she is.
Tongan mom.
Yeah, typical. Whoa. Whoa.
I would say
Talking moms,
I
get
should
on
say
it.
typical poly mom.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my mom was the same way. My dad was very I don't know if your dad is the same way, but he is not withdrawn, but just kind of does his own thing.
Yeah.
And then he knows what his role is.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of the family financially, any other way. But exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I don't think my dad ever said I love you until like I was older.
Really?
Yeah, home from my mission in my 20s, and we had a big blowout. And then after we had talked things out, he said, "Okay, I just want you to know I love you, son." I'm like, "Oh,
Stop.
okay. I didn't know that." But I anticipate that that's kind of the same thing with your dad,
Yeah.
where there's not a lot of words spoken, but they show their love through their actions.
Yeah. It
Um,
worked.
right.
And it makes you I don't know if it's the same for you, but in that it's so crazy. You literally describes my dad. Maybe we have the same dad. But, no, it makes you so much more appreciative of small things. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's the same for you,
Yeah.
but like Saimini was a luxury in my household. But it's because like work, my dad like leaving earlier than us like going to school and then
Yeah.
coming back after
After, yeah.
us coming
Sometimes when you're asleep.
yeah, that was like to me, he didn't have to say I love you for me to know I was loved. Like
Exactly.
definitely when he did, I was like, dang, like my dude, like that's my guy. Like
Yeah.
but like when I seen that it solidified how important it is that love is an action.
Yeah.
And you work at it and
Yeah.
you exercise that.
Exactly. Whereas our moms,
Yeah.
you're gonna hear everything.
Oh, you're
You know? From the moment you wake up to the moment you're asleep. And even when you're asleep, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy. So it's write down stuff, put it on your bed, it's like, do this, this, and this. That's just, and I think that is a good mom.
It is.
When we're growing up, it's like, no, I just can't take this constant barrage of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
But when you leave, like you have, leave your home and you think, I'm so glad that my parents taught me these lessons. You go on your mission, you're like, how do I live my life? But they prepared you for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have.
No, definitely. Yeah.
Great. What do you think is the biggest reason, and maybe they aren't, but what do you think is the biggest reason people your age are leaving the church? Or maybe they aren't.
Um,
Obviously, you'd have to speak from your circle of influence, but are there any people within your circle of influence who are leaving the church?
yeah, I think it's anytime I think of like that subject in general, the first thing that comes to mind is outside sources.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like, especially in my age group,
Mhm.
you want to understand yourself more. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to know yourself more and like justify things that happen in your life so much that you will go to so many other sources.
Yeah.
And I think that can be where that comes in, where you lose your testimony or you lose the faith that you have or you are building. Um, I feel like it comes from going to different sources and not recognizing that, the gospel of Jesus Christ isn't just for in this box. Like,
Yeah.
you don't keep it in this box. Like, it can pour into every single box,
Yeah.
every aspect of your life.
Exactly.
And so I think I grew up though with hearing like the quote, like, God first. And I hear it still. Like,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until I was on my mission that I realized, no, like, not God first, God in everything, you know?
Yes.
When God is incorporated in everything, everything grows. Everything flourishes, everything. And I think it just goes into just letting him
Yeah.
do what he needs to do and giving your wills to his. So,
Going to the real source.
yes.
I think it's okay. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's okay to look at different sources, read a number of different things inside and outside of the church,
Yeah.
preferably inside.
Yeah.
But you have to take all that information and then you need to, like President Nelson is telling us, um, to go to God for the actual answers.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't get the answers right away,
Yeah.
but we have to move forward with faith. Faith is the foundation of our entire testimony.
Yeah.
And I like that you bring that up because I think with social media, it's very easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in different things. Um, did you serve your mission during COVID?
Oh no. Like
Okay.
right after.
Right after.
Right
Okay.
after.
So you didn't have to experience a lot of that sitting around waiting to be able to teach the gospel. You were
It's
able to just
funny.
go.
I was actually a social media specialist
Oh,
on my
wait.
mission. Yeah, it's like a calling you can get on your mission,
Great.
which was part of like uh the humbling experience of my mission. Like I told you, I was trained to be very like physical, very like working all the time. And then like midway through my mission, I was asked to be a social media specialist.
Great.
And in my mind, I was like, I just knew I saw them all the time. You usually work with the church like headquarters in like making mission ads and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're literally just like on a computer. And I was that for like 5 months of my mission. Well, 8 months of my mission.
Mm.
And
That's a
yeah.
good chunk of your mission.
Oh yeah. Like, I remember being so angry in the first call because I was like, bro, what? Like, there's no way. But social media, I love that you pointed that out. Like, it's such it's so crazy. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around like how great it is in so many ways. Like,
Yeah.
I mean big. Like,
Yeah.
it's just infinite knowledge and education and
Yes.
sources that you
Yeah.
can get. But it's also such a divine tool in a way. Like
I
when
agree.
you utilize it in that
Yeah.
way.
I agree. 100%. Back in my day, you had to go to the library. Yeah. It's rough.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to go to the library. So there were set hours when you could go. And there was a big chance that there wasn't a book that you needed in the library. And yeah, that's now you have this wealth of information that you're mentioning right at your fingertips, but it's really important to understand where those sources come from.
Exactly.
And when you say it's a divine tool, this is the whole reason why I started doing this. I'm not a extrovert by any means, but it allows me an opportunity to testify of things that I am very passionate about, especially the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Can I ask how you were inspired?
Like I said, I served as a YSA bishop up until January of this year. And as it was getting closer and closer for me to be released from the calling, I was starting to get a little depressed because I couldn't affect people within my ward anymore, holding the keys that I held as bishop to stand up and testify of gospel truths. So now I'm faced with this dilemma. What am I going to do now? How can I still share my testimony with other people? And that's how I started this channel, so that I can still testify of things that I know are true and spread the gospel now, not just within my ward, but with around the world, from anyone. And I'm making an assumption that anybody cares about this in Africa or Australia or anywhere else in the world. But at least in this area, I can still reach out to people and say, hey, watch my channel, because it might help you with some of the things that I struggle with as well. Thanks for asking.
You're so inspirational. I like didn't know you before, but Taltai kind of talked about you, and I can tell how, I don't know, like divinely appointed you are.
Thank you.
It's such a blessing to be among people like you. And so
And there should be more of us.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And just seeing like you, I feel like you can kind of see that as a trial in a way, but in the same way, like that I was talking about my parents, like them being aware of like those people, like using them and misusing them, you continue to push through. And so I'm grateful that you did and that
Thank
you
you.
have this platform. And you
Yeah.
do. Everyone from Australia and Africa, tune in.
Yes, please. Speaking of criticisms, have you ever dealt with criticism about your membership in the church?
Um, yes. This is actually the first time I'll be talking about this. I don't know if you've ever heard or you're into pageants or anything. I was
I follow some pageants,
okay.
mostly because I've had friends who before were part of the pageants, but now I have those same friends have sons or daughters who are involved in different ways.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a different world.
Yeah.
Um, but I had the special opportunity of being part of the Miss Halala.
Okay.
Um, like 2, 3 years ago.
You mean you were a participant?
I was a participant.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And sorry, I should have clarified that. I wasn't yeah, anyways. I being on there, I kind of well, I utilize my social media to kind
Yeah.
of push out who I am and like what I do and you know what I have to offer, obviously. And I just remember like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is very dominant out there. And so it's either you get people that very much love and support the church
Yes.
or people that
Are very
literally don't. Yeah, they really don't. Yeah. And that's it was kind of hard being someone that grew up here in America trying to advocate for this character, not this character, it's who I am, but you know, like trying to push that out
Yes.
and then trying to also like not justify it, but defend that I am this and it's okay that I'm
Yeah.
also Tongan and so I think it was very the criticism that I received was that it was very performative. Like, oh, you're just like the
Yeah.
cringe church girl that like, you know, believes that you're a nun and all these things, but like, you know, it was just like false accusations.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the criticism that I
Interesting.
received, which was yeah, it was hard.
How hard is it to be a young woman in the church today?
It's hard. In a way. Honestly, like for me, it's not that hard just because it's everything I knew
Yeah.
growing up. Um,
And like you said, it's who you are.
yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely I've gone to college. I did college before I left on a mission.
Uh-huh.
And I got a piece of the real world and
Yes.
it was it was I can see why it can be hard.
Yeah.
I was faced with a lot of trials even on my mission. Um, but I think that really holding on to the truth, like of your divine identity as like a daughter, a son of God,
Yeah.
will carry you through so many situations, through so many circumstances, and it doesn't just carry you, it comforts you, it heals you, it like offers that extra whatever you need
Yeah.
in every situation.
Wonderful. Well, you come off, to me at least, as someone who's pretty confident and strong. We in this area recently experienced a number of suicides, especially with um, young women. And it's difficult, isn't it? What do you say in those situations? But what would you say to young women right now who are struggling with their testimony and their identity to help them? And I guess you've kind of mentioned that in your previous answer, but what would you say to young women who are having these, whether it's mental health issues or just struggling to find themselves in this very fast-paced world, and also trying to live the gospel of Jesus Christ?
Wow, so I love that question. Thank you. I this is sorry, it's a sensitive topic because I feel like, well, I know actually I have a couple of people in my circle that are also going or have gone through those things, and I think that besides like obviously deeply wishing that they understood their value and their worth,
Yeah.
um I just hope that, well, the thing that I hope that they understand is that I hope they know they're not alone.
Yeah.
I think loneliness is it's just it's a scary place, and I think that dwelling in that and kind of just continuing to dig at that can ultimately lead to suicide or other things that are just terrible and tragic. But I think just understanding that you're not alone, uh, knowing that Jesus Christ, our Savior, is there
Mm.
through whatever it is, especially like at your lowest. I feel like that's where I met the Savior, where I initially grew that connection with Him and really knew He wasn't a fictional character,
Yeah.
was at my lowest. And I feel like when you I guess put forth or I guess like put forth your hand in a way,
Mhm.
he'll reach out
Yeah.
and he hears you and he, like even if it's you feel like it's so silly to close your eyes and just talk, um, I I just testify, like I know that he hears us and that he's there, that you're never ever truly alone.
Beautiful. It's really tough, because a lot of people are struggling with it right now.
Yeah.
For some of your own friends or family members, might be. Um, I, if I could, um, and I don't want to diminish how people are feeling in those moments, but as I counseled with people, or if I'm asked that question, one of the pieces of advice that I often gave was, and I think I've heard the prophets and apostles testify of this as well, that in those lowest moments, sometimes it takes the action of removing ourselves from a situation and going out and serving one of God's children. The act of serving removes the sadness just for a moment so that you can concentrate on someone else and see the light of Christ in them. And by doing so, it allows us an opportunity to feel Christ as well, because we're acting as his emissary or his servant in that moment. I don't know if that's going to help anybody listening, but I think sometimes when we go out and serve one of God's children, it removes some of the darkness from us for a moment so that we can see the light of Christ.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on that?
I love that.
Yeah.
That was actually one of like our mission's core values was looking outwards and not inwards.
Yeah.
Anytime we were struggling, like as a companionship or like even within ourselves, like what if it was at home or wherever that problem was, anytime we focused inwards, it grew. Like that problem grew. We found reasons for why, like adding on to this case of why I'm struggling and just dwelling in that. But like you said, um, just having that servant mindset, it heals. And it kind of reminds me of gratitude.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
gratitude is often like people think it's a feeling. It definitely is. But I also think it's a state of being. Like you become happier.
Yeah. Yeah.
You heal. You get a piece of what it feels like to be like the savior.
Yeah.
And in the same way, when you serve and you're broken,
Yeah.
you get a piece of what it feels like to be healed or
I
feel
agree.
whole, you
Yeah.
know?
I agree. Follow-up question to that. And maybe the other question that I did just before that, do each of your siblings know how much you love them?
Oh, stop. I'll cry. I'll cry. Cut the cameras. Stop. I love my siblings
Yeah.
so much. I love them so much. Like I'm so I feel so great. Like I sound so cringe. I really do, and they would probably cringe at this, but being the eldest sister, being like the second mom.
Your father.
Yes. Oh, say that then, tell them. No, they hate when Mom, that's funny. Like you mentioned that, but yes,
Yeah.
I am very proud to be the papa of my brother's future kids. But I do, and I think I hope they do. But I love my siblings. I think it definitely gave me a head start on
Yeah.
motherhood in a way.
Yeah.
I hope, hopefully, but I I I hope they do.
Good.
Uh,
Good.
I should have asked. I want to ask if I can.
Yeah.
Where do you lie in your family, or how many siblings, and where?
There's 8 of us, but for a long time I was the middle child.
Oh,
Yeah. And then the 3 younger siblings came along. And but during my middle child phase, I have an older sister and an older brother, and then I
okay.
have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Wow.
So
How was that?
it was terrible. Because I got hand-me-downs, and then I saw these guys get new stuff, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm just the stepchild.
You're empathetic now.
But there's a reason why I asked that question, because sometimes when you talk about looking outward for love or affection or validation, sometimes the people that we need the most are within our own house. And when we're not, gosh, try not to get emotional. When when we grow up, sometimes there's a lot of sibling rivalry, but and I think I'm not a professional with this stuff, but I think that sometimes we grow up not really knowing how much our siblings love one another, and that we would be there for each other regardless of what situation comes up. And there are situations where people, when you talk about loneliness, they're lonely within their own homes. So it's important for us to, I think, to express our love to our siblings, because when you're down and out, you hit rock bottom, those are the people you're going to turn to the most. And you know that they'll love you because they're blood. Oh, there's a lot of blood that's bad too.
Oh yeah. No.
But I think if we can be the support system spiritually, mentally, physically to one another within our own homes, I think that we can go out into the world and love other people because we can love the people that are closest to us.
If I can add on to
Yeah.
that, it's crazy because it wasn't, man, I attribute a lot of things to the mission because
Yeah.
I, I don't
It's a
know.
great experience.
Yeah, I loved it. It was the best thing that's happened in, oh, yeah, in a while. And, it's crazy because on my mission, like I said, I didn't grow up in a like affectionate
Yeah.
where we didn't
Yeah.
show each other. And even to till today, like I'll still like be the only one jumping on them and stuff. Like I
For sure.
tried to like implicate that in our house, but I realized that like just how uh important that relationship with our siblings are
Yes.
and how influential it is to who we are and who we can become. Like whenever I was like fighting with my little sister, and it's like a little like our age gap is like 5 years, but we fight as if we're the same year, like same like age. But whenever I was like down and bad with her or anyone else in my sibling, it just I didn't feel whole.
Yeah.
Like and my one of my friends had mentioned, she was like, well, like your siblings are literally like your eternal best friends. Like
Yes.
they see you at a very young age and they like stay there until
Yeah.
you die. Like
And
unless
they know they're really you.
yeah, and they know who you actually are, like not who social media's influenced you to be, or like, you know, who you're trying to raise up when you're dating around and
Yeah.
things like that. But they know who you are. And I think that is why I always craved like their validation. Like they knew what it was like to grow up with me with my parents.
Yes.
And they'll know what it is like, you know, as I'm growing. And so I just love that you bring it up because that brotherly love I feel like is mentioned in the scriptures.
Yes,
And I
very
don't
much.
think you like understand that until you truly love your sibling and you value like that type of relationship.
Yes. No, thank you.
It's like,
That's the reason I bring it up. I think it's important for us to, because I find in my own life that there were times when I tried to show love and affection to other people more because I wanted them to show that to me, and I was neglecting my relationship with my own siblings. And there's still remnants of that in in the way that we relate to one another. But now in our old age, it's easier for us to have an open and honest relationship because we know that no matter what happens in life, those are the people that I can turn to. And if you're a single, I mean, you're an only child, then better way to go out and love other people, right?
right.
Find love through
Never
your brothers and
imagine.
sisters in the gospel.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, there's a myth I'd like you to dispel, or maybe you can tell me what is king in Tonga. Is it Puaka, Sipi, or Hosi?
Halsey. Halsey immediately. Why would you ask me that question? No, this is serious. Aren't you full someone?
Yes. Well, actually, I have, believe it or not, I did a DNA test, and I'm 15% twin,
Oh my
and I'm
gosh.
very proud of that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's an accomplished. Good job. That's an accomplishment.
Yep. Yep.
Oh.
So you think Hosi is the king?
Oh yeah, all
Okay.
the time.
Any Tongan would say
You said Waka, Sipi, and Halsey.
yes.
Are you asking? I can't not
I
think of
love
food.
Sibi.
Are we thinking about food?
Yes.
Or are we thinking about the animal?
I'm thinking about on the grill, ready to go.
Oh no, horses are friends, guys. They're not food. Oh my gosh, this was a trick question. No, no.
No.
No, horses are friends, not on the grill. Not on the grill. I thought he was meaning like a good like day out with your pet. No.
Oh my gosh.
It was a
No,
trick question,
I'm not.
guys.
I'm like on the grill, ready to go.
Oh no. Then
Oh.
for sure like CP.
I did-
Nah, it's not.
But it's so gentle.
What, CP?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can go.
Go.
It can go gentle. It can go gentle. Not the horse, not the majestic horse. What?
Okay, you want us to cut that out?
Nah, that was such a trick, honestly.
That's awesome.
Oh gosh.
Okay, final question. What does it mean to you to let God prevail?
When I think about that quote, I think it means to just allow his will over yours.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's it's one of those things where it sounds easier than like
Yes.
it actually is. And in some circumstances and situations, I think it is. It is easy to like be like, okay, I'm gonna let God handle it.
Yeah.
Let I handle it, like that kind of thing. But um, every time I think of it, I think of like sacrifice and love. Like it's also cohesive to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it just genuinely needs to allow him to work his magic and to be present in your life.
Yeah.
To just let him do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Can you think of a situation where that would be easier versus harder to let him prevail in your life?
Um, I feel like no, I'm not gonna say that. Like when we were little kids, we had this like it's like a white Sunday for our Tongan ward.
Yeah.
And in our Tongan ward, you had to recite your lesoni or your
Yeah.
what do you call it?
Your
Like
little
your little
phrase.
yes
Yes.
in Tongan. And if you let God, like help you with it, then I just felt like it was okay. I don't know where it's
It's
going.
as simple as a shout.
Yeah, like I feel like it was you just I feel like it was just something that came naturally. Like you were able to get it down naturally. But when you didn't, if that's when you saw the
That's right.
broomstick or the
That's when
whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where mom's love came out.
Yeah. But I think that's a really good point, because I think if you think of it from a child father relationship, and we look to our father, I don't know how you feel about when you're in a situation where you don't know where to go, how to do something, and you turn to your dad. He's going to try and give you the best possible solution to it. And that's a wonderful answer, because it really does come down to your relationship to God. And if you trust him enough, no matter what the situation, you're going to say, hey, I'm putting this in God's hand. I've done everything that I possibly can.
Yeah.
And now it's time for him to take over with his grace through the atonement of the Savior. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go for it.
It just came up, but with like going off of that, like what do you think stops or what do you think makes it hard for I guess younger people to not let go? Like not allow him to do that. Not allow his will in their lives. Like
It's a good question. I think um I think it comes down to, sometimes we get into these places where we want to control where it's going to go, whether it's dating or education or profession. I've seen it myself. I've seen it in my own life where I'm like, this is where I want to go, and this is what I'm going to do to make it happen. And sometimes we're headed down that path, but then it veers in different directions. You may still go back to the same path. You may become, if we use education as an example in a profession, you may still become a lawyer if that's what your goal was. But it might have taken you 10, 15 years in the opposite direction before you came back to that. But I think that's where we just have to trust as much as we possibly can that God took us in that direction for us to learn something before he placed enough trust in us to fulfill whatever destiny we've or whatever course we've charted for ourselves. I don't know if that answers the
oh, that's
question.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You ace. Do you know what that means?
CP or
No. Yes, CP. Not horsey. Guys, no. Dude. I do not advocate for eating horse, bruh. Aw.
That's amazing. Anything else that you wanted to share with the audience before we close things out?
I think,
Or do you have any other questions for me?
yeah, I feel like I could ask you a million questions. I feel like being, I guess, because you've worked with a lot of like people my age for a while. How long have you been bishop, or were you
Oh.
bishop?
I served for 3.5 years total.
3.5.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And YSA bishops usually serve about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I think like having that experience, what is your greatest advice to young people? I'm sure like things change. I feel like
Sure.
things change fast too. But what is something you would tell young people to help them in any way?
One of the biggest things that I would advise young single adults or youth in the church is to have as much face-to-face interaction as possible.
I love that.
Yeah. Whether it's with someone in your ward, someone in the church, even um, someone reaches out to you in social media, plan a date and go and talk to that person in person, not just back and forth, via social media or text, because I'm showing my age here, but we're starting to lose um, touch with people. And especially with the advent of artificial intelligence
Yes.
and the way the world is going today, it's hard for us to have moments with each other because we're doing it behind screens. And if we could just have interactions face to face more, you get to feel just like we're doing today. You get to feel that person's love and emote in different ways than you can over a Zoom session or any other interactions you have online. That's what I would say is one of the biggest, because you saw that on your mission.
Yeah.
When you go out and you're teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can see people literally being filled with the Spirit, as opposed to, yeah, I just talked to someone on social media and I think they're interested.
Yeah.
So move away from your screens, set aside time during the day to just walk out of your house and go interact with people.
I love that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. And by the way, Nila is my very first female interview.
Really?
Yes, very first.
Okay.
So it's an honor for me to meet you. I hope that we'll continue to interact and have a budding relationship that we can grow through the gospel of Jesus Christ. Please send my love to your parents.
Wow.
I don't know them, obviously, but I get the sense just from you and our interaction that they're wonderful people. So send them my love. And to the rest of the audience listening today, please go out and check out Maake's. Maake.
Stop. My Instagram.
Yes.
Be linked below.
Please go out and check out Nila. I'll have her handle
Dude.
down in the comments. Please reach out to her if you have any additional questions, especially if you need to go out on a date with her.
Face to face.
Please reach out, and it needs to be face to face. I love you. Please remember that everything is possible through our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Wish you were here by my side.